There comes a moment in every wise woman's life when she realizes that protecting her peace is more important than being polite, that guarding her heart is more valuable than giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. At our age, we've learned that some behaviors aren't just red flags, they're deal breakers that should send us walking away immediately, no matter how charming, lonely, or persuasive someone might be. Welcome back to 60 Wise Living Advice. If you're ready to stop making excuses for men who don't deserve access to your beautiful life, if you want to learn how to recognize the behaviors that should make you close the door immediately, then hit that subscribe button right now. We're building a community of women who understand that at this stage of life, we don't have time to teach grown men how to treat us with basic respect. These 5 behaviors might seem manageable at first, might appear to be things you could work with or help someone overcome, but they're actually clear indicators of men who will drain your energy, disrespect your boundaries, and waste the precious years you have left. Men who see your kindness as weakness and your patience as permission to treat you poorly. Today, I'm revealing the 5 behaviors that should make you immediately protect yourself by not allowing someone deeper into your life. Because some people show you exactly who they are through actions that no amount of hope, patience, or love can change. Maya Angelou reminded us, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. These 5 behaviors are exactly how certain men show you who they are, and believing them the first time could save you years of heartache and wasted energy. Behavior number 1. He disrespects your time and boundaries. The first behavior that should make you immediately protect yourself is when someone consistently shows disrespect for your time and boundaries. This isn't about occasional lateness or needing to reschedule. This is about a pattern of treating your time as less valuable than his own and pushing against limits you've clearly established. This behavior reveals itself in multiple ways: chronically arriving late without apology or explanation, canceling plans at the last minute repeatedly, expecting you to be available whenever it's convenient for him, regardless of your schedule, pushing for more intimacy or commitment than you've expressed readiness for, or continuing behaviors you've specifically asked him to stop. At our age, time has become our most precious resource, and someone who doesn't respect your time doesn't respect you. When a man consistently treats your schedule as flexible while expecting you to accommodate his rigid preferences, he's telling you exactly how he values your needs compared to his own. Margaret, 68, recognized this pattern early. David would regularly show up 20-30 minutes late for our dates without calling, as if my time was just something that would wait for him. When I mentioned it bothered me, he'd laugh it off and say I was too rigid about time. But when I was 5 minutes late once due to traffic, he was visibly irritated and made comments about people who can't manage their schedules. What made Margaret step back completely was realizing the deeper pattern. It wasn't just about punctuality. He would call at 10 p.m. expecting long conversations, even after I'd mentioned I preferred not to talk late. He'd suggest activities I'd already told him I wasn't interested in. He'd push for intimacy when I'd said I wanted to take things slowly. Every boundary I set was treated as a negotiation rather than a limit to respect. This behavior is particularly dangerous because it often escalates gradually. Someone who doesn't respect your smaller boundaries, your time, your preferences, your comfort zones, are showing you they won't respect your larger boundaries when it really matters. They're testing to see how much they can get away with, how much you'll accommodate, how much of yourself you'll sacrifice to keep them happy. Never allow someone into your life who treats your clearly stated limits as suggestions rather than requirements.
At this stage of your life, you've earned the right to have your boundaries respected immediately and without argument.
Behavior number 2. He shows disrespect toward other women. The second behavior that should send you walking away immediately is how someone treats other women. His ex-wife, his daughter, female service workers, your friends, or women in general. How a man talks about and treats other women is exactly how he will eventually treat you once the initial charm wears off. Pay close attention to how he speaks about his ex-wife. While divorce can be painful and complicated, a man who constantly vilifies his former partner, calls her names, or blames her entirely for their relationship's failure is showing you his approach to women when relationships become difficult. Listen to how he interacts with waitresses, store clerks, or his own female family members. Notice whether he interrupts women more than men, dismisses their opinions, or treats them as less capable or intelligent. Linda, 64, almost ignored this red flag with Thomas. He seemed so charming and respectful to me, but I started noticing how he talked about his ex-wife. Every story painted her as crazy, unreasonable, or vindictive. He'd roll his eyes when his adult daughter called, making comments about women being too emotional or dramatic. When we'd go to restaurants, he'd be impatient with female servers in a way that made me uncomfortable. The wake-up call came during a dinner with Linda's friends. Thomas dominated every conversation, interrupted my friends constantly, and later criticized them for being too opinionated and not knowing when to listen. I realized that his respect for me was conditional, based on my continuing to please him and not challenge him the way other women in his life apparently had. This behavior is particularly revealing because it shows you his fundamental attitude toward women as a group. Men who genuinely respect women don't lose that respect when relationships end, when they're frustrated, or when women don't behave exactly as they prefer. They don't have a special category of respect reserved only for women they're trying to win over. When someone shows you disrespect toward other women, they're showing you exactly how they'll treat you when you inevitably have disagreements, when you don't meet their expectations, or when they no longer feel the need to impress you. Don't allow someone into your life who sees women as fundamentally inferior, overly emotional, or deserving of disrespect when they become inconvenient.
Behavior number 3. He tries to rush physical or emotional intimacy. The third behavior that should make you immediately protect yourself is when someone consistently pushes for more physical or emotional intimacy than you've indicated you're ready for. This isn't about healthy mutual attraction or natural relationship progression. This is about someone who ignores your comfort level and tries to pressure you into deeper connection before you've established trust and genuine compatibility. This pressure can be subtle or obvious, but it always involves prioritizing his desires over your comfort. He might push for physical intimacy too quickly, ask deeply personal questions before you've established emotional safety, expect you to share your vulnerabilities while remaining guarded about his own, or make you feel guilty for wanting to take things slowly. At our age, we've learned that genuine intimacy, both physical and emotional, develops naturally when there's mutual respect, trust, and authentic connection. Someone who tries to rush or manufacture intimacy is showing you that he's more interested in what he can get from you than in building something meaningful with you. Patricia, 67, experienced this pressure with someone she'd been seeing. Robert would constantly push for us to spend entire weekends together after we'd only been dating for a few weeks. When I said I preferred shorter visits while we got to know each other, he'd act hurt and say things like, "I thought you were interested in me," or "Most women my age appreciate a man who wants to spend time with them." He made my reasonable boundaries sound like rejection. The pressure extended beyond time together. He'd ask extremely personal questions about my marriage, my finances, my relationship with my children, information I wasn't ready to share with someone I barely knew. When I'd deflect or say I preferred to keep some things private for now, he'd accuse me of having walls up or not being open to love. He made my normal caution sound like a character flaw. This behavior is dangerous because it shows someone who doesn't understand or respect the natural development of trust and intimacy. Someone who pushes for deeper connection before establishing the foundation for it is either emotionally immature or manipulative, possibly both. They're more interested in fast results than lasting connection. True intimacy can't be rushed, demanded, or guilt-tripped into existence. It develops naturally between two people who respect each other's boundaries and understand that trust is earned gradually through consistent, respectful behavior. Never allow someone into your life who makes you feel pressured, guilty, or abnormal for wanting to take your time developing real connection.
Behavior number 4. He shows inconsistent interest and effort. The fourth behavior that should make you walk away immediately is inconsistent interest and effort. The exhausting pattern of hot and cold behavior that keeps you constantly off balance and wondering where you stand. This isn't about someone having busy periods or needing space occasionally. This is about someone who shows intense interest when it suits them and virtual indifference when it doesn't. This inconsistency shows up as periods of frequent contact followed by days or weeks of minimal communication, enthusiastic planning for future activities followed by vague unavailability when those plans approach, intense attention and affection alternating with distant, distracted behavior, or promises and declarations that aren't followed by consistent actions. At our age, we don't have time for emotional roller coasters or relationships that require us to constantly guess how someone feels about us. Inconsistent behavior is a sign of someone who either doesn't know what they want or knows exactly what they want, and it isn't a committed relationship with you. Helen, 66, spent months trying to understand James' inconsistent patterns. He texted me constantly for several days, wanting to talk about everything, making plans, telling me how much he enjoyed my company. Then he'd virtually disappear for a week, giving short responses to my messages and being too busy to get together. Just when I'd start to pull back and focus on other things, he'd reappear with full attention and charm. The pattern was emotionally exhausting. I was constantly trying to figure out what I'd done to cause the distance, or what had brought back his interest. I realized I was spending more energy analyzing his behavior than enjoying whatever connection we had. The inconsistency made me feel like I was always auditioning for his attention rather than being appreciated for who I am. This behavior is particularly damaging because it creates an addictive cycle where the intermittent reinforcement of his attention becomes more compelling than consistent, reliable affection would be. You start to crave the highs of his focused interest precisely because they're contrasted with periods of neglect. But inconsistent behavior reveals someone who is either emotionally unavailable, seeing other people, or simply not that interested in building something stable with you. Someone who genuinely wants to be in your life shows up consistently, not just when the mood strikes them or when they have nothing better to do. Never allow someone into your life whose interest in you fluctuates dramatically without explanation. You deserve someone whose care for you is steady, reliable, and doesn't leave you constantly wondering if they matter to you.
Behavior number 5. He dismisses or minimizes your concerns. The fifth and perhaps most dangerous behavior is when someone consistently dismisses, minimizes, or invalidates your concerns, feelings, or observations. This isn't about occasional misunderstandings or different perspectives. This is about someone who makes you feel like your thoughts and feelings don't matter, aren't valid, or are somehow wrong or unreasonable. This dismissive behavior shows up in various ways, telling you you're too sensitive when you express hurt or discomfort, laughing off or ignoring concerns you've raised about the relationship, explaining away your feelings instead of acknowledging them, making you feel like you're overreacting to things that genuinely bother you, or consistently minimizing problems you've identified. At our age, we've developed the wisdom to recognize when something feels off, when our needs aren't being met, or when we're not being treated with proper respect. Someone who dismisses your concerns is telling you that your inner voice, your experience, and your emotional intelligence don't matter to him. Dorothy, 69, experienced this pattern with someone who seemed perfect on the surface. Whenever I'd bring up something that bothered me, like his tendency to interrupt me, or his habit of making plans without checking my schedule first, Michael would smile condescendingly and say things like, "You're being too sensitive," or "That's just how I am, you'll get used to it." He made me feel like my concerns were petty or unreasonable. The impact was profound. I started second-guessing myself constantly. When something felt wrong, instead of trusting my instincts, I'd wonder if I was being too demanding or expecting too much. I began apologizing for having feelings, minimizing my own concerns before even expressing them. I was losing trust in my own judgment because he consistently told me my perceptions were wrong. This behavior is particularly insidious because it gradually erodes your confidence in your own experience and intuition. Over time, you stop bringing up concerns because you've learned they'll be dismissed. You start accepting treatment that doesn't feel right because you've been convinced that your feelings about it are the problem. Someone who consistently dismisses your concerns is showing you that they don't value your emotional experience, don't respect your intelligence, and aren't interested in creating a relationship where both people's feelings matter. They want you to adapt to their behavior rather than working together to create mutual respect and understanding. Never allow someone into your life who makes you feel like your concerns don't matter or your feelings are invalid. At this stage of your life, you've earned the right to have your emotional experience respected and your concerns taken seriously, even when someone disagrees with them.
These 5 behaviors aren't just red flags. They're clear indicators of men who will ultimately drain your energy, disrespect your worth, and waste the precious time you have left. They reveal fundamental character traits that don't improve with patience, understanding, or love. They show you exactly how someone will treat you when the initial charm wears off, and they no longer feel the need to impress you. At our age, we don't have time to teach grown men how to respect boundaries, treat women with dignity, understand consent, show consistent care, or validate our legitimate concerns. We don't have years to waste hoping someone will develop basic relationship skills or learn to value what we bring to their lives. You deserve someone who shows up consistently, respects your boundaries immediately, treats all women with dignity, allows intimacy to develop naturally, and takes your concerns seriously from the very beginning. You deserve someone whose character doesn't require improvement projects or endless patience. If this video helped you recognize these dangerous patterns and gave you permission to protect your peace by walking away from men who display them, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more content about recognizing your worth and refusing to accept less. Share this with other women who need to understand that protecting themselves isn't mean, it's necessary. Remember, allowing someone into your life is a privilege they must earn through consistent, respectful behavior. When someone shows you through these behaviors that they don't deserve that privilege, believe them and protect yourself accordingly. Your peace, your time, and your heart are far too precious to waste on anyone who doesn't treat them as the gifts they are. I'll see you in our next video, where we'll continue exploring how to recognize and attract the genuine respect and love you deserve at this beautiful stage of life.